Physical science pedagogy. You know that in physical science pedagogy it comes in the paper 1. In paper 1 we have various kinds of the contents. One is the methods of teaching of physical science, second one is aims, objectives of teaching physical science, and daily life situation, how the physical science is connected, okay, and reference books, continuous comprehensive evaluation, CCE we call it as simply as an ICT. So, we will discuss it in one by one. So, today you are going to learn about the methods of teaching physical science. You know that physical science is the queen of all sciences and teaching is an art. So, everyone will not be a master in the teaching, correct? Okay, but you are going to be a professional in teaching. So, you should know everything concerned to the teaching, then only there is a conceptual clarity will come, am I correct? Okay. And so, there is less abstractism in the physical science, it is an advantage to all of you. The reason the physical science is connected with the daily life situation. Without physical science there is no daily life situation, am I correct or not? For example, the children are playing cricket, there is a cricket, there is a physics, am I correct or not? When the player want to hit the ball, the batsman want to hit the ball travels in a parabolic path, parabola, it comes under the physical science. And of course, the fielder want to catch the ball without any kind of dropping. What generally he will do? Can you say about it? See, if the player want to hold the ball, catch the ball, he will push his hands little bit of towards the body and little bit of downwards. What is the reason behind it? You can catch, you can hold the ball directly, no? Why are you holding the ball? To hold the properly, you are putting the hands little bit of downwards and towards your body. The reason is called impulse. Impulse means it is a force into time. When the time increases, the force will be decreases. So, that is the reason to make more time to get rest of the ball. So, we will pull the hands towards the body and little bit of downwards. Why you are putting downwards? Because the ball is travelling in a parabolic path. Is it clear or not? See how interesting, no one knows, maybe I am using the concept of physical science, but unconsciously he is using the physical science concept, am I correct? So, one more thing, you know that you stand on a floor, you are walking on a floor. So, is there any science? Maybe you do not feel nothing, so just you are walking. So, if there is a frictional force between your feet and land, if there is nothing frictional force, you will slip down, and you are walking means here. So, you are putting some force which is more than the frictional force existing between your foot and land, am I correct? See how interesting it is. Like each and everything which is concerned to the physical science, not only physical science, even you can consider as a chemistry also, am I correct? The planets are revolving around the sun in a parabolic path, of course elliptical path. In the similar manner, the electrons are revolving around the nucleus in elliptical orbit. That is the reason azimuthal quantum number is introduced, okay, and we have the orbitals S, P, T, F. And it is here physics is full of innovations and discoveries. Our greatest scientists are put their innovations, develop the science, and of course, now we are shifted to rock age to digital age. We are using computers, we are using laptops, we are using smartphones, we are using iPhones, and we are using nothing else. You can say anything about the physical science. So, physics class will be highly interesting to all the children, because they are experiencing those things. They never feels that it is different from their daily life situations, am I correct? So, handling physical science in the classroom transaction is a very easiest one, but you have to follow the scientific method, systematic approach, required resources, teaching learning materials, then only it becomes as a complete integrated classroom teaching. So, if you want to become a good teacher, effective teacher, efficient teacher, then you should know about the methods of teaching of physical science. This is an important of this methods of teaching physical science. Not only according to the blueprint of your examination, there are two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. One is called pedagogy and second one is called content. So, pedagogy maximum questions comes from the pedagogy. So, it is the most important what are the different kinds of the methods of teaching in physical science and what is its meaning, how we are going to apply these methods in the various contexts. This is very important. You should not use every method in the same manner and the same content. So, some content require different kind of methods and some kind of contents require one more method which is not used previously. So, the teacher has the discrimination power to which method I am going to use it, which strategy I am going to use to transact the class effectively. That is the most important. So, now we are going to learn one by one. So, okay, methods of teaching, the first one, ancient one is lecture method. You know that lecture method is a very ancient. At the time of ancient period, the gurus, the children are going to the guru ashramams, there the teacher explained in the lecture method. The children who are acting as a student, they learn all the slokas and everything which is concerned to the content. The same thing is going on now, presently also we are using a lecture method. It is the oldest teaching method given by philosophy of idealism. So, this question comes as a very important. See, which is the oldest teaching method among the all possible methods means lecture method is the oldest one. Here the teacher is so active and the students are passive. Just the teacher deliberates his lecture about a concept. Okay. He does not mind whether the children are perceiving all this concept or not, because he has to complete his concept in a given stipulated time. Okay. When the syllabus is vast, you want to complete in a short period, generally this lecture method will be highly useful. Okay. So, some concepts, for example, a theory part is there, maximum part. So, you want to give clear information about it, generally a lecture method will be mostly useful, but in science we are using this lecture method in a less concern, because science is totally practicality is very important. Okay. Realisticism is very important, and the retentivity, how much retentivity, susceptibility, all these words are very important for this. All these are based on the practicality. So, it is very important, a lecture method will be very less importance in the transact of the physical science class. Okay. But it is very important when the syllabus is more and the time is very less, they want to complete the syllabus, then obviously generally lecture method. But lecture method will not be used at the stage of primary schools and secondary schools. After that the children are grown up, definitely they have the perceiving levels of the children will increase, the children can understand this lecture method. So, teachers are very careful. So, you have to use the lecture method not before the secondary and primary. Clear? Okay. Now, it is used to motivate, clarify, expand and review the information are very important, because if you want to review the total information, how this information, this concept is concerned to the particular area, what are the prerequisites, means what the concepts already the children learn, he has to review that, and what is the advantage of this one. So, for example, I will give a small example to you. If you want to know about the periodic table, so generally in the periodic table the teacher adopt the lecture method. So, who first, you know that 𝗹𝗶 tripods, then other mostly, and the next one is mostly, like different kinds of the people, of course scientists they contributed. Okay. He want to explain what are the groups, what are the periods, okay, different properties of the atom, what is the atomic size, what is the electronic affinity, what is the ionization potential, what is the positive charge, what is the negative charge, how it is changes from moving from right to left or left to right in the periods, and top to bottom what is the change, how they are related. okay, and which is the element belongs to third group and third period. If you want to say about all these things and the properties of chemical properties or physical properties of any element generally, so the lecture method is required, but he has to plan according to the standard of the classroom. So, the teacher has used is what you call it as simply is a mental status. So, how the children is going to be understand. So, if I adopt the lecture method, whether the children can perceive it or not, that is the most important. He has to motivate, he has to clarify, he has to expand. That is a very motivation is very important. Should not start light. What is the property of light or the properties of magnetism or the properties of electrons. Like if you started directly, there is no use. It has to give much more importance of the daily life situations there. For example, you want to say about the electricity. So, children, you are using at the time of functions series of lights. If one bulb was broken, what will happen? So, all the lights will not glow. The reason is they are connected in series, correct. If one will be gone, then the circuit will be disrupted. So, obviously, there is no flow of current. So, no bulb will be glow by that. You know that is a series connection. Okay. If you see the different electrical equipments at our home, domestic electrical equipments like a fridge, TV, cooler and other things here, all are connected in parallel. For that reason, we are putting some different switches for each one. So, all are connected in series. What will happen? If you switch off one fan, for example, the remaining domestic elements in the house will be stopped. There is no power in it. So, he has to give where we are applying the series connection, where we are applying the parallel connection, what is parallel connection of the electrical equipments and what is series connection. So, when the resistances are connected in series, what will happen? When the bulbs are connected in series, what will happen? When the potential differences, for example, potential difference, how it changes, like he has to debate, he has to communicate, then that is a very important, means for that he has to take the motivation is a very important. Sometimes he has to say about various scientists, how they invented. I will give a small example to you. Everyone knows that Madame Curie. She is the only one scientist who got Nobel Prize from mathematics, for physical science, at the same time the chemistry. In both areas she got a Nobel Prize, such a greatest person she was. Okay. And so the radioactivity was invented by Becquerel, you know that. How he invented? Accidentally he identified that. He collected one piece of that, one piece of substance, just if keep it into one photographic paper, he kept into a drawer which is completely dark. After 3-4 days, when he came to his laboratory, when he opened that, he observed some rays are emitted, correct. After that they identify those are alpha, beta and gamma rays. So, some substances releases these kinds of radioactive rays. So, that is the reason that process is called radioactive. After that, you know that different people find it the different kinds of the things, and you know the reason behind the radioactivity of any element is N/P ratio. Okay. If N/P ratio, neutron, number of neutrons by number of protons, if the ratio is less than 1 or equal to 1, it is a most stable element. If it is more than 1, then it becomes as a radioactive element. There is a transformation of from neutron to proton or proton to neutron. When neutron becomes as a proton, what will happen? When proton becomes as a neutron, what will happen? That is very important. When proton becomes as a neutron, what will happen? A positron will be released, correct. Okay. When neutron becomes as a proton, what will happen? One electron will be released from that, correct. That is a positron. And of course, it forms isobars. See, the teacher has integrated knowledge. So, he has to give the much more information to that. He has to motivate. So, that is a very important. If you, for example, you want to say about the nuclear physics. So, in Chernobyl in 1984, so for there is a lapse of time for replacing of cadmium rods in the nuclear reactor, then the controlled nuclear system will be converted into uncontrolled nuclear operation. So, the nuclear reactor will be converted as an atom bomb, and it causes a big explosion. So, the carefulness is very, very important, clear. So, he has to give some live examples, and recently we projected nearly 104 satellites, am I correct? 104 satellites. So, what the works, what the what you call as how much they feel that, how they implemented the knowledge, okay, how they try to achieve for this position, like we have to motivate it, okay, and they clarify. The teacher should give the information as a crystal clear format, then only the children can understand it. In the 10th class textbook, when you see that, so simply a convex lens will be call it as a convergent, and concave lens will be called it as a divergent. This sentences only will be given, correct. So, when these sentences are given, the children is able to understand. Personally, I asked so many children, so why the convex lens is a convergent lens and why the concave lens is a divergent lens? So, the children does not say, no sir, the light rays are converge, so hence we call it as a convergent lens, and the light rays are diverge, hence we call it as a divergent lens. Then why it converges, that is very, very important. So, when you take a lens, it is a combination of prisms. The top position of the prisms in a convex lens, okay, so like prisms, the base of each prism downwards, and you know that when the light ray incident on the prism, it refracted towards the base. So, all the rays comes towards the central line, means they are converged, hence the convex lens will be called as convergent lens. When you come into the concave lens, when you observe that the prisms are, of course, the prisms are, so bases are in upward direction. Okay. So, definitely the light rays will be refracted too near to the base, means they move from the center. So, they diverged. When they diverge, so that is called a divergent lens. Is it clear? This is the most important. You have to give the conceptual clarity. So, that is very important. Expand, this also are very important. It has to, do not stick exactly what is given in the textbook. A textbook is meant for the children, not for the teacher. Teacher is a facilitator. He has to provide all the information in extensive manner. Then only the children can understand. Otherwise, so many doubts will come. Why the milk is in white? What is the reason behind it? Okay. When ant bites, what will happen? So, why you are getting itching sensation? Like if you want to know that, it is a most important. Why the milk is so? There is a lactic acid inside it, that is the reason milk is white. It is an acid, correct. When ant bites, then what will happen? A 𝗧𝗪cic acid will be formed. Okay. So, that is a very important. He has to invite the children, but in the lecture method, the inviting of the children will not be a part. When a teacher takes the help of a lengthy short explanation in order to clarify his ideas or sum of fact, that explanation termed as a lecture method. Are you understand that? So, he has to give a very lengthy and or very short explanation in order to clarify his ideas. You want to present the facts, explanation without any kind of disruption, then generally this lecture method is used here. Are you understand? So, how the lecture method will be? It should be a motivative, it should be clarifying the doubts, it should be expanded manner, it should be in the review of the information. And where you are using that, when the lengthy explanation is there or short explanation is there, in order to clarify his ideas or facts, the explanation is termed as lecture method. Okay friends, shall we move to the next method? So, next method is a demonstration method. Okay. So, next one is demonstration method. You know that by the name only you can say he has to demonstrate something. So, if you want to explain a solution, when sugar is added to water, a sugar solution will be formed. Okay. So, after sugar solution, how you are going to say, how you are going to say, where is the sugar? Where is the sugar? Is there any sugar that in the sugar solution? Is it physically appears? No, a solution will be formed. So, if he says by oral, there is no use. The children cannot understand. When he show that activity, the children can understand it easily. Am I correct? So, some of the activities he has to present it. If you see the textbook, there are so many activities are given in the textbook. Okay. So, through the activity the teacher has to explain the concepts, am I correct? So, for the presenting of the activity comes under the demonstration. It is a physical display of the form, outline or a substance of object or events for the purpose of increasing knowledge of such objects or events. So, here it has to explain one concept. When the light ray incident on a particular lens, it reflected or refracted, you want to exhibit this. So, generally has to give some demonstration, am I correct, through activity or visual form. Maybe he can take the visual of virtual lab support, digital technology. Okay. So, there the demonstration takes place, it is a very important. So, demonstration involves showing what or showing how, this is the most important. So, what you are showing that and how you are showing that. So, it should be very clear. So, demonstration involves showing what or showing how, this is the most important. Is it clear? The reason is, so the teacher has to crystal clear information in his mind, what he is going to demonstrate it. From that demonstration what he is expecting and how he is going to explain the concept, this is the most important. So, that is the reason we said demonstration involves showing what or showing how. Okay. It should be pre-planned. Here active participation of the student is very important. Okay. The teacher just exhibit the activity, okay, then it is not correct. So, the children also will participate in it. So, hands-on experience gives them more clarity to get the information, am I correct? So, here the active participation of the student will be there, of course the teacher also active, means both are, because our system is a child centric method. So, here the child is very important. So, child should learn all the things by his own, by his observation, by his logical reasoning. So, it is very important his participation. So, in demonstration method the participation of the student is more. Truth is that works is the important principle of this method. Truth is that works, this is a very important, truth. So, means after the activity you will observe the light rays are travel in the linear path. If you want to say it, because light rays are not visible, by performing that activity you can understand, am I correct or not? So, like if you want to say refraction, when a spoon is just placed in a glass of water, when you observe from the top view nothing will happen. When you observe from the side view you feel that the spoon is bending. Is it really possible? No. What is the reason? When the light ray travel from rarer medium to denser media, the light ray bends towards or refracted towards the normal which is drawn at the point of incidence, correct. For that reason the spoon seems to be like a bending. So, you have to say the truth is that works through activity, okay. And some myths also spreading in our society. So, the Lord Vinayaka drank the milk. So, everyone doing their pujas about that at the time. 5-6 years back this will happen. Is of course, a statue will drink the milk, is it possible? Not possible. Then you have to say what is the reason. Okay, it generally it is prepared by mud or some metal. Generally in the inside the metal, as for solid state physics we can show that between it is in a crystal form, between one atom or one molecule there is some gap will be formed. In that gap air will be formed. Okay, it has some pressure. When it has some pressure, so when you dip into it, definitely that leads to that liquid to upward direction. It is called capillarity. Through capillarity property, Vinayaka drank the milk. We have to say the truth, that is a very important. Okay. Some ants or some small insects walks on the layer, of course the top layer of a liquid. You are observing, okay, in a pond or something else when you observe those. So, simply small insects can walk on the layer of course top layer of the water. Can you walk it on the top layer? of a water? Is it possible? Can you walk on the water? No. What is the reason? What is the reason behind it? It is called surface tension. Okay. The reason is the surface of the layer, a water layer, which is the top position, of course we call it a surface, is like elongated a rubber. So obviously they can walk it, but it is called a surface tension. Am I correct or not? So like each and every activity gives the real truth. So truth is that works is an important principle of this method. So you have to understand about through the demonstration method only. So here the very important things are requirement of good demonstration. Okay, these are very important points. You have to note it carefully. It should be planned and rehearsed by teacher beforehand. Okay, it should be planned, because if you want to demonstrate some activity, it should be planned. A proper planning is required. How to demonstrate it? At what time you have to demonstrate it? Whether you are following on process or not? Is there any other things will happen? Okay, like for example, when you are doing a performance with the acid, when acid is poured into a sink which has a water inside, what will happen? A fire will come. It has to take the precautions. Sometimes you should not touch the things, and you have to handle with care, because if the glass material is there. So he has to observe each and everything as he has a good plan and rehearsed by teacher beforehand. He has to rehearse. Otherwise, the teacher will lose the faith on him. If the teacher is failed to perform an activity in the classroom, generally all the students laugh at the class. So he loses his controlling power at the classroom. So that is very important, and there is another formation of that misconceptions may be formed. For that reason, the teacher has to plan and rehearse that demonstration before exhibiting the demonstration. Then only it becomes a good demonstration. Adequate lighting arrangements to be made on demonstration table. This is very important. So generally you will exhibit the activity or you will demonstrate those things on a table. So everything should be visible. For that, as a proper lighting is very important, adequate lighting is very important, correct? So then only he will demonstrate those things. So he has to check the rooms where you want to demonstrate it, that room should has adequate lighting. That is a very important. A proper background table need to be improved. So here, so it should be attractive. See, I am taking a class to you through this Mana TV. So they prepare a background to me. It should be an attractive. So the proper background table also very important for demonstration of the activities. And the third one is the demonstration should be interesting, so that it captures the attention of the students. It should not be lengthy. Demonstration should be attractive, interesting. So everyone eagerly awaiting what will happen, how it will happen, what a pretty it is. So like the children has to observe it. For example, when you see on the mornings when you observe on the roads, there are so many kinds of colors will comes on the dirty water. What is the reason? It is a mixture of so many oils, correct? Fuels, everything, grease, like all this. When the light ray travels in all kinds of medias, these colors will form. Okay, the teacher should bring the nature into the classroom and the students into the nature. It is a very important. Materials are things used by the teacher or demonstration that the children handles in everyday life. You should not bring different kinds of material which is not used in a daily life situation or daily life of the children. He has to collect the things or the materials which is used by the teacher for performing the demonstration should be very familiar to each children. Okay, then only the children feels that I can also perform this demonstration. Okay, I will try to in a different way. Clear? I will give a small example to you. You know James Cook, who invented this steam engine. When he was 5 years old, so his mother want to ask him to just stay for 2-3 minutes at kitchen. Okay, so James Cook just waiting at kitchen room. So there is a stove, and on the stove in a vessel water is boiling. She put a lid on it. After 2-3 minutes, what he observed? The lid is moving upwards. At that time he was wondered, no one is there, how the lid is moving upwards? Something will be there. Just he take a spoon and put it in a tablespoon on it. Okay. After some time, again the spoon and lid also coming there. So initially he feel fear, and finally he observed that just he opened that, then the water vapor comes upwards. So you feel at the time very happy. After observing so many times, the water vapor has a power, energy used in the steam engines. Of course, we are using the steam engine technology in so many areas. Of course, trains are running by these steam engines. Am I correct? The boilers are running this activity. So that is a very important. So here, that if you want to explain that concept, those things are enough. No need to take any other scientific equipment. So the teacher want to demonstrate anything, so it is very clear, it should be very commonly available in the market, and the children can use regularly in their daily life situations. Am I correct? These are the few. Now we will see the next method. Before that, I am going to add one more method called the lecture demonstration method. Generally, presently we are using lecture demonstration method only. So in the lecture demonstration, so for example, we want to explain some concepts on optics, light. So you want to explain those. So you have to use the mirrors, lens, correct? So you will take all those things in the classroom on his table. So you will give some introduction about the optics. He will give some concepts about the properties of or laws of optics. Then he has to exhibit those things by using these equipment. It comes under the lecture demonstration method. So lecture demonstration is a scientific method. There the teacher participating and children participating, both are same, correct? So they will enjoy it. So they will, of course, everyone participation, it is a group activity, like a group activity. So generally we are following in the secondary school system the lecture demonstration method only, but every chapter cannot be expressed, cannot be taught in the form of lecture demonstration method. The discrimination power in the hands of the teacher. So he has to decide, so where we are going to use the lecture method, where we apply the demonstration, only activity. If you want to perform only activity and which is taught already about that, then that activity presentation called a demonstration method. So sometimes you want to explain the concept, you want to demonstrate those things, then it comes under the lecture demonstration method. Now coming to the next method, that is called scientific method. Okay, by its name you know that it is a scientific, means it is a way to ask the answer scientific questions by making observation and doing experiments. So generally, so sometimes you have to pose the questions. Why the sky is blue? Why the sea water is blue? So if generally you can say the scattering of light. Of course, for inventing this things, our Indian scientist C.V. Raman got the Nobel Prize for it. Clear? So means here you have to ask some scientific questions. I will ask a simple question to you. So when you are traveling on a bus, okay, just observe those things surroundings through the window of the bus. What is your perception? You feel that you are at rest. The shops, the trees, the passengers who are stand on the road, okay, and the vehicles which are at rest, it seems to be they are in motion. But actually think what will happen? When the bus is moving, you are also moving with the same bus. You are in motion. The trees will not travel, okay, the shops will not travel, but it seems to be, it is called relativity. Okay. When the two trains are moving of course different directions, okay. So one is 30 kilometers per hour, another one is 70 kilometers per hour in the opposite directions. You feel that of course another train which is not travelled by you, that will be travelled by 70 kilometers per hour. It is more speed than ours. Am I correct or not? So it is call it as average velocity, of course. Doppler effect. If you want to say Doppler effect in physical science about the sound. So you have to pose some scientific questions. And what are your observations? Okay, just take for example, in the textbook we gave some activity to identify which is an acid and which is a base. Take 3 test tubes. In 3 test tubes, one will filled with acid, another one filled with base, another one is filled with water. All are in aqueous color. Okay. So, how to identify it? There only one what you call it, indicator is given, litmus paper is given. Okay, then how we are going to say, about which is the acid and which is a base? You pose the question to the children, then the children will try it, the children will observe it. You will take the litmus paper, for example, it is a blue litmus paper, you put in the first test tube. If the blue litmus paper turned into red, then that is an acid. Okay, and take some quantity of that one and just add it to the second one. When the of course a salt forms, the second one becomes as a base and the third one is a water. For example, the first one there is no turn of blue litmus to red litmus. So, it may be base or may be water. Then he has to put the same in the second one. For example, it turns blue to red, then it is a acid. Then you have to pour some quantity of that one in the first one. Okay. When it forms a salt, then it is a base and the third one is a water. For example, it is also not, then you have to try for the third. Like here the children is observing that, after observing, posing the questions, then you can say that which is an identifier, which is an acid and which is a base. So, like we have to pose some scientific questions and ask them to observe, and finally you have to ask the result. Otherwise, ask them to do the experiment and finally say the result. Here some steps are there. One is called ask the question. You have to ask the question. Second one, do background research. Okay, observe it. So, what is an acid? What are the properties of an acid? What is a base? What are the properties of a base? What is a neutral, of course, solution or water, for example, this one. So, the children has to then, when acid is mixed with the base, what will happen? Like he has to collect the information. Then he come to a construct a hypothesis. He come to an hypothesis, and next test your hypothesis by doing an experiment. See, also you will fix it. Blue litmus paper is converted into red litmus paper, means converted into red color, then it is an acid. A red litmus paper converted into blue, then it is a base. When the acid is connected with, of course, added with the base, a salt will form. Okay, that is called neutralization. So, like he has to write the hypothesis and test the hypothesis by doing an experiment. Clear? These are the steps of a scientific method. So, not only this, you can ask so many questions to that. Okay? So, then by using this, you can say whether the body or a vehicle is traveling in uniform velocity or not. We can give, just ask them to draw the velocity time graph. It is like a parallel line to the x-axis time, then it is typical uniform velocity. Like we can pose it. Okay, children? Okay, students? So, then this is called a scientific method. Okay, so after scientific method, we will shift to another one. Before that, the last one, the analyze your data and draw a conclusion. You are performing an activity, okay, by your hypothesis. You have to write the data, and according to that data, draw a conclusion. Draw means write a conclusion. So, then you come to and communicate your result. This is the most important. For science, the communication is very important. He has to communicate with the physical science terminology. He knows it, but he has to communicate in the science terminology. That is very, very important. So, you know that Sir Isaac Newton just observed an apple fall down from the tree. Simply if we say apple fall down from the tree, then there is no use of it. But if we say that, so every object will be attracted towards the center of the earth. Of course, we call it as a gravitational force. Am I correct or not? So, like here I am using the gravitational force. So, it is a science terminology. You have to express the result in terms of when acid is connected or joined with a base, then a solution will be, of course, salt will be formed, solution of salt will be formed. This is called neutralization. So, we can say those things. So, that is very important. Here your experiment should be a fair test, means here, so it should be according to the norms of the activity. We should be fair, okay. We should not change the result. A result is, of course, according to the required result, we should not change the combinations or the things. So, very important, your experiment should be a fair test. Then, so there is a news in the scientific method. Generally, this scientific method will be used in the higher classes. In the lower classes, the children is very difficult to perform these things, but very important. And here the teacher assistant is also very important, because he is performing different activities. He has to test so many precautions to exhibit the and expressing in terms of science and science terminology also difficult for that. So, generally we will use it in the higher classes. Okay. Now, coming to the next one is analytical method. Okay. So, in the analytical method, when you observe it, so analysis, separate the things that are together. This is the main aim or objective of this analytical method. Okay. We divide the total context into some parts, okay, and those parts will be a meaningful one. Separate the things that are together, which means we divided into various parts, various concepts. For example, I want to explain the kinematics chapter, correct. So, kinematics chapter, first I have to say what is kinematics, okay, then what is relativity, and then what is rest, what is motion, what is velocity, what is speed, what is uniform velocity, what is instant velocity, okay, then what is acceleration, what is force, okay, what is momentum. Like I have to divide the total things into separately. So, that is called analytical method. Separate the things that are together is the main motive, of course, objective of the analytical method. So, analysis is the highest intellectual performance of the mind. This was given by the very important psychologist, familiar psychologist Thorndike. You know that Thorndike theory in the psychology, because you are completed your B.Ed, you know that in the psychology chapters, the Thorndike contribution. Analysis is the highest intellectual performance of the mind. So, the analysis power will be differ from one person to other person. So, which has this maximum analysis power, the perception levels also maximum. So, the classification, for that reason recently different kinds of strategies are applied for developing this analytical method, mind mapping, conceptual mapping, clear, all this comes under this analysis. So, he analyze those things, okay, and they follow the order also, order of arrangements, clear, okay. Unfolding of a problem to find its hidden aspects. One concept was given. What is hidden aspect in a finite? Okay. So, if I want to explain that, fiber optics, because fiber optics is the main base for the total communication system in the information technology. Okay. You are getting a phone call, or you are getting some videos through internet or computer working, all this working under the fiber optics. What is the concept hidden in that fiber optics? Total internal reflection. It is one of the property of light. By using this property, so fiber optics are developed. Now we are getting nanotechnology, clear. So, now by using nanotechnology, you are using nanomedicine now. Previously radiotherapy. Recently I met one of the person who is suffering with the cancer. Previously there is an operation, through the operation they separated that of course that part which is affected by the cancer. After that there is an improvement, we call it as chemotherapy. By using a medicine, high powerful medicine, they are using chemotherapy. Recently one more method is adopted, that is tomotherapy. See the concept, how the science was developed, Am I correct or not? So, how these things are developing means by analyzing the problem. What is the problem? How to solve it? Okay, what are the rectification methods? So, like you have to find its hidden aspect. That is a very important aspect for this analytical method. And the most important is unknown to known. Okay. So, here previously we does not know what is the reason behind it. After this applying analytical method, we know that what is the reason behind it. So, unknown to known, okay, unfolding problem to find hidden aspects, okay, and separate the things into parts, all comes under the analytical method. And breaking up of a given problem so that it connects with what is already known. So, one problem is given. So, you have some information as a prerequisites. By using that information, you are going to separate it, means you are connecting the previous knowledge to the present knowledge or required knowledge. That kind of connection comes under the analytical method. Is it clear? So, very important, they may be asked in the examination previous questions. That is the reason I am explanation of the analytical method. Separating things that are together is the one. Analysis is the highest intellectual performance of the mind, second, and the third one is unfolding of a problem to find its hidden aspect, unknown to known, a breaking of a given problem so that it connects with what is already known. So, it is a very important, clear? Okay. And maybe in the examination they may ask it what are the main part, of course, objectives of the analytical method. You have to write all these things. And this method has some merits, and here totally analytical method based on logical reasoning and leaves no doubt, because everything is clear. By doing experiment, by analyzing all the things with a proper reason, we are finding the things as a result. Then is there any possibility for doubt? For that reason, in this analytical method there is no scope for the doubts. Okay, next, facilitate understanding as we discover facts. So, everything observed. So, observation skills improves, reasonal skills improves, logical skills improves. So, spontaneous response improves, presence of mind improves. So, all the required qualities improves means here, which is the totally base for the understanding of the concept, means it facilitates the understanding. That is a very important. As we discover the facts, we are discovering the facts, am I correct? So, through this analytical method, and each step has a reason and a justification. Everything in the process of this finding the result, each step supported with a reason and justification. How it happened, why it happened, what are the reasons behind it, like we are giving the reasons for it. So, definitely it is a mind blowing activity, in that a very good activity. So, this analytical method is a highly applicable in the, but it takes much more time, correct. So, of course, we can't as a demerits, in my knowledge it is not demerits, but as per pedagogy we are saying a demerits according to the availability of time, all this. I will add few demerits which are in the analytical method. So, one is a lengthy and time consuming. So, if you want to perform the activity or the thing, if you want to learn the concept in the analytical method, so it takes a lengthy process and it consumes more time. So, that is one of the bad thing in that, but useful. Not applicable to all topics, because each and every topic will not be explained in the form of analytical method. Are you understand? The reason is the syllabus is more, you have to complete the syllabus. So, if each and every concept which is given in the textbook or is explaining in the analytical way, it is a very difficult to complete the total syllabi, first one. And second one, all topics cannot be analyzed in a regular process. So, there is some axioms is there, okay. So, we can't analyze those things. For high concepts is required to explain some areas. Okay, science and technology, good science and technology is required to explain those things. At the time, the children cannot understand those things also. Am I correct? Okay, so now we are using 4G phones. What is meant by 4G? how it works, what is the science and technology behind it. If I want to explain those things, all the children cannot understand those things. Am I correct or not? It needs some basic information. So, all are not applicable, all chapters are not applicable, or all topics are not applicable in adoption of analytical method. And it is difficult to acquire efficiency and speed. And the teacher should have good potentiality in handling all these situations. At the same time, he should have acquire efficiency and speed. He has to perform with speed, and he has good presence of mind, he has good time management and mind management. All these are required to apply this analytical method. So, these are the few drawbacks, of course, demerits for the analytical method. Overall, so analytical method is a very good method, especially in physical science classroom transaction. Okay. Now, coming to the next one, synthetic method. So, both are different directions. Okay. So, what is synthesize? Generally, you know that what is synthesize? Synthesis means to place the things together or to join separate, but there are some parts are there. You have to join all those and make it as a one. It is called synthetic method, correct. So, means you want to take various kinds of petrochemicals and petrochemical products, okay, organic compounds and its subproducts, all the things comes as one, that area is called organic chemistry. So, various things are there, you grouped all those things and call it as simply as a synthesis. The method proceeds from known to unknown. It is known because you know each and every part, you are going to add all those things to make as one. So, that means what will comes as a result we does not know, means in this method we start from known, we end up with that as unknown. Very important, in the analytical method we start from unknown and we end up with known. That is the difference between synthetic method and analytical method. In the synthetic method, known to unknown, in the analytical method, unknown to known. This is a very important point. It is a method of formulation, recording and presenting concisely the solution without any trial and error. Okay. So, here is just formulating, just you are formulating that. After adding all this, we comes as a generalization, or we formulate those things, we recording those information and we presenting that information, clear. So, there is no possibility of calling as a trial and error. So, this is very important here. Okay. Now, coming to the what are the merits of this synthetic method? Synthetic method is very short and precise method. Okay. Means very simple. So, we have gathered all those things and we want to make a one. But grouping all these are very important. So, you have to know the interrelation and intra-relation between those things. You want to make a unique thing. So, maybe children are playing some with there is some pieces are there, you have to make all pieces to form a figure. So, it is not a simple thing, but takes a little, but it's a very short method and precise method is, and it saves time and labor. See, just observe the previous merits and previous merits. There it takes much more time, here it saves time, and there more labor is required, here the less labor is required. Okay, it is a very long, it is short, am I correct or not? And it suits the needs of majority of the students, because you are going to invent, you are going to discover, so there is so much stress and pain will be required to perform those things. So, all the students will not perform, all the children will not have the same kind of analysis power. Okay. And the teacher also has a very good time, okay, and good knowledge about it, and good have presence of mind, all these things. Okay. So, for analytical means so many qualities are required, but in the synthetic method maximum children of the class can be perform these things. So, mostly it suits the needs of majority of the students, okay, and it omits trial and error. There is a possibility for trial and error in the analytical method. So, here it omits the trial and there is no possibility to what is trial and error. Okay. So, it gives a result. These are the merits of that. Okay. Now, coming to the next one, demerits. Of course, every one is a demerit. Of course, we can't call it as a demerit, as a drawback. A teacher, it is teacher centric. Students are passive learners because teacher only will formalize those things and he will say those things. Okay. So, teacher is plays a active role in this method. Students are passive, just they will listen those things and they follow the formula, correct. For example, I said the chemical formula for acetic acid is CH3COH, hydrogen chloride is HCl, correct. Carbon tetrachloride is CCl4. Okay. CHCl3 we call it as chloroform. Okay. So, here how these formulas are generated, all these things are not necessary for the children. Of course, the teacher will not play, of course, give the information to those things, simply will give these are the formulas of different, and these are the scientific terms, and these are the general. For example, if you take a salt, so that is a chemical name is sodium chloride NaCl, it is a common salt. Okay. So, you will say like, so why so what are the components? Of course, you are going to learn later. So, sodium and chloride reacted, then sodium chloride form, of course, we call it as salt, like that is a different thing, but here the teachers plays a vital role and teacher centric, and students are very passive in this. And no opportunity to develop the skills of thinking and reasoning, because the teacher only perform all the things, just he is gathering all those things and make a new thing, means here less opportunity for the children in the participation and less opportunity for the developing of skills of thinking, reasoning, all those things. In the analytical method, there is a good scope for the children to develop the skills of thinking and reasoning, logical reasoning, but here very less, and actually you can say no opportunity to develop these things. And students rely on rote learning method, rote memory. So, simply the students are based on rote memory, because already like a ready made food, everything was ready there. So, simply they are following those things. Is it clear? So, like they are following this method, this is not a good method. And now coming to the problem solving method, you know that by its name only, a problem solving method aims at presenting the knowledge to be learned in the form of a problem. So, we will give a problem. For example, the bike is not started, that is a problem is given. So, then so many questions may be starts from that. Why the bike is not started? There may be no petrol, a clutch wire may be broken, am I correct? Ignition is not working, like we are going to say those things. So, make pupils aware that many problems can be solved in more than one way. There is no possible to say the problem can be solved in this particular method only, particular way only. We can solve those things in so many ways. From this problem solving method, the children can understand, children can aware that many problems can be solved in many more ways, and it improves the pupils' abilities to select appropriate solution strategies. Okay. So, means here the children is in position to select the required ability to select the appropriate solution to solve the problem. So, problem solving is a very good scientific method. So, you have to adopt this problem solving method anywhere. Okay. Here the children participation is very good, and there are some methods. So, we can learn all those things in another class. Anyway, these are the few methods for transacting the class for physical science, and they are useful. Here the teacher is the final. So, he has to decide which teaching method is going to be adopted in the classroom transaction for which topic. Clear? So, I think so you understand all these things. Thank you for listening.